Hi, and welcome to another newspaper article, Lucky Dip. You have myself and my beautiful co-host, Yvette, from whom we shall steal a hat. Now, I don't know what's coming out of the hat. As always, I have no idea. So, look the description below. Any trigger warnings are going to be in the description below. Anything affects you negatively, look in the description. Make sure that it doesn't come up in any of the articles that are picked out of the hat this episode. We'll jump straight into it. Okay, what's this one? So, to begin with, we have the Elgin Courant and Morayshire Advertiser for the 31st of July, 1846. An article entitled An Odd Marriage. About a 12-month ago, a Mr Warr, an aide-de-camp to the late Sir R. Jackson, commander of the forces in Canada, went out with a brother officer on a sporting expedition to the northwest to shoot buffaloes, etc. On getting there, he met with some of the wandering tribes of Indians and fell in love with the daughter of a chief. It is supposed he expressed his passion for the lady, but however that may be, the chief determined to make him a present of her. Mr Warr had, of course, only anticipated a marriage de convenience, a liaison for the moment, as they term it, to terminate at the end of the buffalo hunting. But not so the chief. He insisted on a regular marriage, and in the end the polished Mr Warr, the pink of fashion, and having noble blood in his veins, was married to a Crow or Blackfoot wife by a missionary who happened to be at hand. This was nearly 12 months ago, and the young gentleman has been with his savage relatives ever since. By this time, report says, his civilized clothes have worn out, and he has been equipped à l'Indienne, with all the embellishments of paint, tattoo, etc. Nor will the tribe hear of his coming away, which, as may be imagined, he is most anxious to do. But he had been given to understand that if he should show so little gratitude and good taste, a bullet will most assuredly put an end to his Indian existence. The circumstance has occasioned a good deal of amusement. It is understood the Hudson's Bay Company will use their influence to redeem the unfortunate white, one of whose great merits in the eyes of the tribe consists in his having red hair, which the Indians regard as a divine gift. Okay. Well, I mean, we all love a redhead, and I can see why the tribe may have wanted to adopt him. Maybe they're very open to sharing cultures and traditions and what have you. They certainly seem quite into making him one of their own, which I quite like that. But really, he was just going to have his way with the daughter of a chief and then bog off back home. I feel like this is him getting his comeuppance, in a sense. I mean, if he felt like she was worthy enough to have a liaison with, then surely she's worthy enough for marriage. So, I know these upper class toff types, I was going to say of a certain era, but they still exist, feel like they can have their way with as many folk as they can get under their belt. But it would seem that the savages that they ran into were somehow more civilized than he was, insisting on marriage before he got to have his way with the daughter. And all commendation to them. Good on them. You know, like, they certainly put him in his place, especially if he's had to go almost a year without his native clothing, and even after being returned, he's going to be returned with tattoos, etc. I wonder if he ever got back to his own country. I'm wondering if he brought his wife with him. Maybe that would have been one of the ways in which they would have let him go, is provided that he take her and look after her and maintain her as his wife. Which, again, that would be alright. I'm into it. I'm wondering if there was any after story, if anything came of this, whether he escaped his in-laws or not. I'll have to look it up and get back to you. I think he got exactly what he set out for, whether he wanted it or not. So, good on him. Hello, boy. You have been joined by an elfie boy. Femi was in here earlier, and Femi is the deity of chaos. So, I was concerned. Less concerned now it's just Elfie. He's just a bit of a bitey, scratchy boy. He doesn't cause chaos to the close environment. So I think we'll be okay. So second out the hat, we have the Groat Journal for the 26th of January 1844. I think the Groat Journal has come up already in this series. Not so conducive to good spirits, really. We have murder. We have been informed that an atrocious case of murder was perpetrated at the village of Loch Gilphead on Thursday last. So far as we have learned, an unmarried man named Peter Campbell, a schoolmaster there who lived in the same house with his mother and aunt, assaulted his relatives on the day in question, and with a razor almost severed the head of his aunt from her body, from which death, of course, resulted instantaneously. The infuriated man was in the act of murdering his mother when her screams attracted the notice of Mr. Macmillan of the Stag Inn, who burst open the door and with a stick knocked the razor from Campbell's hand and secured him. The poor woman is severely cut about the face, neck and arms, and is dangerously ill. The man, regarding whose insanity there can be little doubt, has been taken to Inverary jail. That's pretty horrific. He absolutely is going to have shown red flags in the lead up to this. There's no way he went from being your bog standard schoolmaster to suddenly attacking his relatives like that. There's no way. There are going to have been red flags, and I wonder in what way they showed. Unmarried. It doesn't say how old he was, but what we tend to find these days is that the involuntarily celibate amongst our populations, those classing themselves as such, have a propensity for violence when they feel their needs aren't being met. And I'm wondering if this is an instance of this, because we've come across articles similar. We had a man in a Glasgow close in a previous episode, a while ago now, who literally tried to murder a woman by stabbing her because she had kind of brushed him off, and told him that he didn't really stand a chance with her, that she wasn't interested in a relationship with him. So he tried to murder her for that. We've had a girl get acid thrown in her face. I think it was vitriol, so it had been sulfuric acid, which narrowly missed causing her some real damage. And again, that was because a lad that was interested in her was rebuffed. So this is not a new phenomenon. I'm wondering whether it could also have been that he felt like his mother and aunt were somehow hampering his lifestyle to whatever extent. And maybe he felt like they were curtailing his opportunities some. It's got to have been building for some amount of time for the rage to get so much that he would literally try and decapitate a person. You can kill people with far less fury than is described in that article. That's rage that's going on there, and it doesn't tell us any of the background. And you find that a lot with these old articles. They don't go into the whys of things as much as we would like. That's an afterthought. That's for once the prison doctors have maybe had a word with him, and it's unlikely that the papers at that point are going to be very interested. They've covered the bit that's going to grab people. They've covered the moment of excitement, the attempt itself. There's not a lot of information that allows us to take a good critical look at a scenario and whatever else was going on behind the scenes. I feel like it's unlikely that he just had a bad day at school and came home and did that. Again, I'm going to feel like there's got to have been red flags, that there was probably a number of occasions leading up to this where he just completely lost his rag and he's had to go and maybe cool off. And it would be super strange if he did that without his mother and aunt being at all concerned at his mental processes in the days leading up to the act. Inverary is an interesting jail to be put in. It was actually one of the most modern prisons in Britain at one point. We did an out and about up at Inverary jail, and I got in about all of the buildings, and there's just a wealth of information. If you ever get the chance to get to Inverary jail, it's well worth a visit, because it's a full day just to get around the place. There's like 3 buildings. The staff dress up and tell you all about varying events and people that were housed there. I'm not sure that I saw Peter Campbell. Had I read this article before going, I would have been looking out for notices, because they have lists of the prisoners in books. I could have looked out for him to see if there was any follow-up. But, yeah. I wonder if he ever got out of Inverary jail. I wonder if that was deemed a life sentence. It doesn't say that he was executed. He may have been executed for that act. I'll see if I can find out. So we have a later article from the Perthshire Courier for the 2nd of May 1844. It reads, Inverary. The court was opened here on Thursday the 18th by the Honourable Lord Wood. There were 8 cases in all, chiefly assault. Peter Campbell, sometime teacher in Lochgilphead, was placed at the bar on a charge of having murdered his aunt in the month of January last. The panel pled not guilty. After examining a number of the Crown witnesses, it appeared evident the prisoner was labouring under some mental delusion or insanity when he committed the fatal deed. The jury returned a verdict accordingly, and the accused was ordered to be confined for life. So there you go. He wasn't executed. He was given what sounds like a whole life sentence. On to the next. This boy's asleep and not caring. Quite happy. So we have the Elgin Courant Morayshire Advertiser for the 20th of May 1853. The coincidences we come across. But it's intriguing. We have strange occurrence. Two persons on their way home from the south, where they had been attending some of the markets, halted at a hostelry at Castletown of Braemar to give their wearied limbs a night's rest. Having been shown to bed in a garret, they soon committed themselves to the care of Morpheus, god of sleep and dreams, under whose influence one of them started from bed about midnight, and, with an impression that the house was falling, posted himself firmly against the ceiling and bawled out to his companion for help to keep the tottering fabric from giving way and crushing them both. His companion, being roused from sleep, sprang out of bed and applied himself with all his strength to support the roof, thinking that they were in imminent danger. Alarmed by the noise, the landlord procured a light and went upstairs to see what was the matter, and to his surprise and amusement, found his two lodgers straining for their life with their shoulders against the ceiling. With some trouble, he got them persuaded that all was right, and left them to their slumbers, which, with the exception of a few occasional starts, they enjoyed till a pretty late hour in the morning. I like these sleep stories. They're almost unanimously weird or interesting or funny, and this one is so daft. So you've got the combination of a person sleepwalking, acting on the dream that they're having. But you've also got the just woken person who's in a state malleable enough to have them perform pretty much whatever action was going to be required of them. You see that in videos now. It's a kind of common prank, isn't it? Where like someone will be asleep and another person will hand them a random household object and go, "Oh, it's a phone for you. No, you need to speak to me." And they're like, "Oh," and they'll try and talk to a banana or a shoe or something like for X amount of time until they wake up enough to realise. This has a combination of our usual somnambulism mixed with that fog you have, that kind of don't know what's going on feeling you get the moment that you've been woken out early out of a slumber. So that's pretty funny. That landlord will be telling everybody that stays under his roof about these two guys like forever. Yeah, that's pretty funny. I like that. That's really stupid. Kind of reminds me of that, was it the Three Stooges? And they're like holding up the building, and they're like, "There's no way you're holding up," and he was holding up the building, like that kind of thing. We'll have a last one for this episode. Okay. What have we got? Oh my goodness. We have the London Telegraph from the 11th of October 1824. We'll see what the Telegraph. We have a sentence to finish us today, entitled Mysterious Circumstance. It says, the Oxford Journal says that a balloon was discovered at Milton near Banbury containing in its car the lifeless body of a man. Well, barely tells us anything. When the balloon took off, Was there only one man aboard? Is this the case of murder and his other passenger has absconded? He's lifeless. Was it lack of oxygen? Was it misadventure? Did he have any injuries? Was it because he travelled in a balloon that he's died? It literally tells us absolutely nothing. We don't have the guy's name, age, where he started out from. There's no follow-up article. I think I'm going to have to find a follow-up article, because it doesn't tell us anything. Like, we've had balloons go missing, I think, in previous articles. I don't know that we've ever had a death on a balloon. I'm not sure. Oh well. John Smith at Milton near Banbury has passed away from some means that we might never find out. In the London News for the 11th of October 1824, we have another fatal balloon ascent, suggesting it's a somewhat popular pastime. Milton near Banbury, October 6th. We copy the following from the Oxford Journal of this day. As the shepherd of Mr Cox of Milton was this morning going his usual rounds over his master's farm, he perceived something at a distance, which appeared to be some cows lying together, but which on a nearer approach proved to be a balloon containing in its car the lifeless body of a man. He immediately ran back to the village to procure assistance, and had the body removed to the Black Boy public house, where it still remains. The deceased appears to be about 25 years of age. On examination, the skull was found to be fractured and the right arm broken. On his person were some papers and a bill of fare bearing the name of Grimshaw, Crown and Anchor Inn, Northampton, whither a messenger has been sent in hopes of obtaining some information of the deceased. The balloon is in the possession of Mr Cox, where numbers from the surrounding villages have already flocked to see it. There's a wee bit extra information on that article for us. It seems as though his injuries might be consistent with some kind of crash. Okay, well, on that question mark, I guess we'll finish for today. Thank you very much for joining me again. We may see you for the next one. Take care.